All right, everybody. Once again, it's time to go live and be live and do live and am live and are live and be live. And while we can, I mean, are they going to cancel my fucking live stream? This is the Department of Homeland Entertainment Show Business, the Government Oversight Office for Hollywood. Well, it's the FCC. They're using the FCC basically as their tool. I mean, that's what I will say about the Trump administration this time is like they found all the legal kind of leverage they need. Before, it's just like they couldn't do anything. You know, the first time Trump was president, it was just like totally incompetent. Now it's like they know how to weaponize everything. To use everybody's favorite word, weaponize. Probably the first time I ever heard the word weaponize was during the election 2016, weaponized autism. They were using people with weaponized autism to look at the Hillary emails to like high speed figure out what the fuck crime she did, what she did to the children. Well, Hillary, what the fuck did you do to the children on the island, Hillary? Thank God Hillary's not the president. That's all I have to say. You know, we averted disaster with those emails. Thank God the last 10 years have been just completely chill, and it's an extinction burst. People seem to be psyched about it. They just want to tear the whole fucking thing down, thinking there's going to be like something better on the other side. And I just don't know if I agree. I mean, it feels inevitable at this point. The technology has changed that it's allowed sort of like alternative voices to gain a foothold, and those have been weaponized, I would say, against like the status quo as we've known it most of our lives. So we're seeing all these things. I mean, I think one of the things that we're seeing is like we lived in like a bubble, the post-war United States bubble with the middle class and a sort of a democracy and a sort of a, you know, there was a social safety net for a little while. You know, I was thinking about the New York School poets or whatever, the second generation. It's like the reason why they were able to exist was because of the American empire and because of surplus material conditions, which allowed them to have those lives, rent controlled apartments, free time, close proximity to each other. They had a space, you know, multiple spaces, the church, Memeo magazines. We are living in an era of extreme widening income inequality. Cost of living is exploding. And so that type of poetry is not going to be, well, I guess what I'm saying is like we were used to, you know, sort of like an abundance, I guess you might say, in America. Even though there was complications and, you know, contradictions or there was violence, there was hostility, there was colonialism, there was all of that implicit in that, in American post-war kind of like largesse or whatever. But now that is quickly disappearing and we're descending into autocratic, you know, like what do the comedians think? What are the free speech absolutists? I mean, these are the best jobs you can get as a comedian, or they were. You know, I guess this is just another symptom of like the monoculture dying and the legacy media dying. So that helps. You know, 20 years ago, could they have canceled Letterman? Probably not. Could George Bush could have canceled, because network was still a big part of our lives. Now it's like there are these alternate systems. But I think what we're seeing is we thought the alternate systems were going to be like an alternative, some kind of like democracy of voices and everybody. But I think what we're seeing is actually the power is just being siphoned. They're going from one status quo, small ownership of broadcast channels to another, rather than ABC, NBC, whoever it was traditionally, or the studios, same thing, Louis B. Mayer or Paramount or whoever it is, Robert Evans. They're just being sold, basically. It's they act, and it is a difference, in technology and things like that, and distribution to some degree. But like, I think what we're seeing is they're just kind of reinstating the same, and in fact, worse. ABC, NBC, CBS were part of like a liberal, I mean, especially probably NBC, but I mean, even CBS. We've talked about this, 60 Minutes, Dan Rather. I mean, wasn't Walter Cronkite on CBS? That was like journalistic integrity, so-called. And there's none of that on the internet. The internet is sort of, that was what was attractive about it, I guess, was or that's what people like about it, is it's just like free for all. You can say whatever heinous, you can't say that on television, because the traditional airwaves were like this place where they aspired to like some kind of righteous, that's what they thought. They thought, we have this responsibility. I'm David Brinkley or whatever. I went to Yale. I have a responsibility to like the truth and to the people and to report on. And the internet's just like, it's none of that. It's just like, get clicks, fucking rile people up, polarize people. And so the media is going from being owned by whoever the fuck owns ABC, NBC, General Electric, to being owned by Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now, Paramount, TikTok. CBS is going to be owned by David Ellison. That's Larry Ellison's kid. And so it's like, but at the same time, it's like, not, is anything really, I mean, things are changing. Definitely. They're flexing their power more, but it's like the studios have always kind of been, I don't know, controlled by Zionists in a way. I mean, that's what Hollywood was. That's what everybody fucking like complains about. It's like, oh, the Hollywood is this propaganda machine, or the Jews run show business type way of thinking. And it's like, so people on the internet think like, oh, we are like taking the attention back. We're like middle America. Fuck you, Hollywood. Fuck you, liberal, condescending, lecturing people like Jimmy Kimmel, people like Colbert, these Hollywood elites who are just kind of liberal, old fashioned, and all of Hollywood, right, is like this kind of liberal. And so they're acting like the internet is like this populist change, but we're quickly seeing that it's actually just another kind of like monolithic thought police. And it's just, it's the owners are actually getting worse. And I think they're getting more fucking power, now that they literally, I mean, I guess, network television, they controlled what you saw. They controlled what the narrative was. But like, it just feels like with the algorithm, these pipelines and shit, now they really control what you see. And I mean, I think we've seen with the rise of Trump is like they really are shaping like our psychological reactions to stuff. They're sculpting that into their own ideological kind of like containers or something. They want everybody to be like some kind of incel alt-right fucking stay at home fucking loser with no friends. The nihilism building up. So the Jimmy Kimmel thing, I mean, the thing that's crazy about it to me is like, he really didn't even say anything offensive. All he did was like, he showed a video of fucking Trump saying, that sort of like basically showed everybody that Trump doesn't give a shit. Trump was like, yeah, I'm going to go watch TV or something. I forget what he said in the video, but it's like the joke, like Bill Maher, ABC did this 25 years ago with Bill Maher, right? Bill Maher said some shit after 9/11 and they got rid of politically incorrect because it was politically incorrect what Bill Maher said. It offended everybody's sense of it was in the wake of a national tragedy, 9/11. Bill Maher said, hey, maybe these guys are not cowards or whatever. He sort of disobeyed the prevailing whatever you're supposed to feel. People's sense of security, group, we all are moving. We're all, as human beings, we have to like be sad about this because what if it was us? What if this happened to us? Like, we don't want this to happen to us or anybody we love. And so anytime somebody gets something shitty happens, it's almost like superstition. You can't say anything bad. You can't like say any ill of the dead or whatever. And so, I mean, but Jimmy Kimmel didn't even do that. Like what he said was like extremely fucking like innocuous compared to what, a lot of people could be saying. And yet, they've just had it for some reason. Trump is obsessed with these late night hosts. I guess because they're like the jesters or something of our of what culture we had. They're the ones who sort of like say that the emperor has no clothes. I mean, it was a surprise to me that Kimmel was like as liberal as he was because he was on the first thing I remember seeing Jimmy Kimmel on was Win Ben Stein's Money. He was the sidekick to Ben Stein, who was a Republican speechwriter. Ben Stein is like a famous Hollywood Republican who wrote speeches for Nixon and other presidential Republican types. He's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but like he's a right wing. I think he's MAGA. I'm pretty sure he's like pro-Trump. I really don't know. Is Ben Stein even still alive? But then he was on the Man Show, right? The Man Show was Kimmel's first like, and I never really liked Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, to me, he's just kind of like the epitome of just like hack comedian. Like and the Man Show did not do anything to like make me like him more. I'm surprised he's got as much like clout as he does. Like he's hosting the fucking Oscars. He's on goddamn Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, I don't think he's that funny, and I don't really like looking at him on TV, to be honest. Like, he's not really like a telegenic guy to me. He's gotten way further in his career than he probably should have. That's not to say anything bad about the guy who I don't think he's going to, well, we'll see. But so the Man Show, right? It was him and Adam Carolla, who's like a MAGA anti-masker type. And the Man Show, the whole thing was about like objectifying women and sort of celebrating toxic masculinity in a way. That's what the point of the show. The whole fucking show was drinking beer, juggy dancers, girls on trampolines. That was like the joke of the show is like, we're exuberant in our like misogyny. And isn't it funny? Or we're just celebrating dumb kind of masculinity or whatever. And so anyway, he moved on from that. And then Joe Rogan took it over, right? When him and Adam Carolla left, Joe Rogan and Doug Stanhope became like the new Man Show guys. I like Doug Stanhope, but we all know where Joe Rogan ended up. He ended up being the most powerful person in America somehow. Or at least one of them. The host of the Man Show. Who knew the hosts of the Man Show were going to have such an influence on the downfall of our democracy? Or government. They're going to be writing about this in the history books. The Man Show. Women jump juggies on trampolines. I was not a fan of the Man Show. even though I was a teenage boy when it was on, I even at the time I'm like, this is fucking stupid and like just like Cro-Magnon. Not that I don't like those things, but we can do better, people. I was more of a Dr. Katz professional therapist guy. And somehow he dated Sarah Silverman forever. I mean, I guess, you know, a lot of comedians have dated Sarah Silverman. That's just comedy world, but like, that's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how Jimmy Kimmel has had like this glow up. It must be all of the Diddy parties. It must be all of the Illuminati ceremonies. Is Kimmel in the files? Why did Hollywood embrace Kimmel so much? Why is Matt Damon on fucking Jimmy? Well, one reason I think is because his show is literally right on Hollywood Boulevard. You know, unlike the other talk shows which are in New York, like celebrities really don't even have to go that far to get on Kimmel. It's like he's right in downtown Hollywood. Like you can just walk from your house in the hills or whatever and go on Kimmel. So that's one reason why I think he's so popular. But, you know, to be honest, like CBS and ABC did not even have late night shows until like what? Letterman came on in 93 and Jimmy Kimmel came on in like 2000. And Kimmel's been on 20 years. That's hard to believe. Like he's been on almost as long as fucking Carson was on. It's like he still feels like it's still weird to me he even has a fucking show. Now, I'm not saying he should have got canceled in the literal sense of the word. I think obviously this is what fascists do. We've been fucking talking about it for 10 fucking years. You know, we've been warning about this for 10 years. It's taken this long to actually, you know, it takes a long time to achieve your goals. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll and dismantle the American government. It took 10 years for people to normalize and accept like thuggish, ruggish, outright right-wing fucking censorship, frankly, is what it is. I think as artists, this should be a fucking wake-up call to all of us. First, they came for the late night hosts. And what are they going to cancel my live stream? I mean, I'm already basically shadow banned as fuck. Not that it matters. I'm already like a extremely, extremely low band pirate radio station. My dream as a kid was to have like that Pete and Pete episode was to have like a radio broadcast antenna on my house. So you could have like a local radio station. That's like the ultimate dream, is to like have your own local radio station that like people pick up in their car or whatever. That's kind of what this is. And so, or I don't know, maybe not. This is the best, easy, completely no effort way. So anyway, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel just rose up the Hollywood ranks somehow. I guess because his joke writing. But yeah, so ABC and CBS really they're not like NBC, where like the Tonight Show is like one of the cornerstones of fucking NBC. There's the Today Show, there's the Tonight Show. They've both been around since like the 50s. Like they're early staples, whereas like CBS really Carson, right, was always the king. He was the only fucking show. No wonder he was the king. Anybody who went up against him got canceled real fast. Pat Sajak or Alan Thicke or Joan Rivers or Joey Bishop or whoever the fuck it was. They all challenged Johnny Carson. They all fell. And so Jimmy Kimmel is a relative. He was the newest one. He was just something they were sort of trying. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner. Why did they not have late night? I don't know. They had fucking Nightline. They had Ted Koppel forever. And then I think Jimmy Kimmel would go on after Ted Koppel, maybe. And because he's a super libtard, and he'll just espouse all the extreme left-wing talking points. So that's how he got his job. No, I mean, I just think he's a humanitarian, like a lot of creative people, I guess. even though I would have guessed Jimmy Kimmel was like kind of a jerk. His comedy is kind of like he's usually kind of like a prick, I would say. At least he was in the early days. I haven't really watched his show like ever. I like that like guest hosts. He gets really fucking good guests, and like he brought Dana Carvey back. You know, when Dana Carvey was doing Biden, Kimmel put him on doing that, and he let Dana Carvey guest host, and it's like he had good taste. You know, like Kimmel probably is a cool guy in real life, and I hope that he doesn't get canceled. Like I hope that there's enough protests, there's enough vocal criticism because like Colbert, I mean, why did they cancel Colbert? Did he say something specific or was it just like they wanted to get rid of him? Because this kind of feels like the same thing. Like it seems like they probably just wanted to get rid of this show, maybe. Well, it's a sacrificial lamb because ABC is trying to do there's some big merger. Like with the CBS thing. There's some big merger that they need approval from the FCC. So Trump is literally doing like a quid pro quo. I mean, that's what it is. This is what politicians are not supposed to do. Like this is supposed to be illegal. You can't, I mean, of course, we all know politicians are corrupt and they've always been this way, but like I don't think in our lifetimes like we've really seen like outright muzzling of like political opponents, even if they're just late night hosts. I mean, this is how it starts. Uh, do these guys have any power? Like, I think so. I mean, you know, like my parents watch fucking Colbert like religiously on YouTube. I guess he could get a fucking YouTube show, but like, you know, Google owns YouTube. And so they're going to control how many views he gets, more or less, whether or not he gets seen, whether or not he gets. So I think that's what's scary as like a content creator or just like is like it really feels like we have these channels to like voice our opinions, but the they are going to decide ultimately like who who gets like the megaphone, who the new celebrities are, basically. They're just like with everything. Tech is just like this. It's like alien. It's like a face hugger. You know, it plants its eggs, it takes over your body, and it destroys every business it goes into. And Hollywood is no different. You know, like now they're getting into network TV, but it's like it's already taken over the movie business with Netflix. It took over, you know, like livery with like Uber. It took over like uh food delivery with Grubhub. Took over real estate with Airbnb, Craigslist, whatever the fuck it is. That's only the beginning. It's only the beginning of that. And I mean, I love late night fucking shows. Maybe they are some kind of weird. To me, I guess, what do they represent? I mean, I think they are a part of like the American like society, the height of American empire. Like they were a part of like our liberal, benevolent, you know, sort of, or at least that was the pose of the American empire after World War II, was like America was this the world's leading democracy. And definitely we fucked around in a lot of people's countries and killed a lot of people and imperialized a lot of shit. And we were in everybody's goddamn business and have military bases every fucking place on earth. And people hated that and they want to bring it all down. And that's what this is about. You know, on the left, that's what the leftists think is like, fuck America. Like the liberals are no better. The liberals are doing the same shit that the Republicans did. It just like the Republicans do more. The liberals did genocide in Palestine. But now the Republicans are like, they're doing the same shit. It's just they're doing it more. And so fuck all of it. Fuck America. Fuck the late night hosts. Fuck the white guys. I mean, to me, I guess to some degree, like the late night hosts are like mediators. They're like a mediator between the president and the public. Like the president is this authority figure, daddy, like powerful person. And the people are powerful too. But the late night host, somebody like Carson was sort of equal to the president. He was sort of like a counter president, or he was like the president of like jokes, lighthearted public opinion. And so like by having somebody take the piss out of the president, it actually, I think, humanizes the president, or like balances the power or something. That keeps the president from being a dictator. The fact that you can have a guy go out and be like, gee, wasn't it fucked up what the president did today? Or geez, look how the president's screwing us over now, or whatever it is. Jay Leno, Bill Clinton's getting a blowjob. How many fucking Monica Lewinsky jokes were there? Jay Leno never lost his fucking job. All I fucking heard my whole goddamn childhood were Monica Lewinsky jokes out of Jay Leno's fascist Italian fucking jaw. Clinton never once threatened, like, we got to get rid of that fucking Jay Leno. Get his ass off the TV. We need to fire his ass. Fire Jay Leno. Trump is obsessed. Doesn't he have more important shit to worry about than fucking Jimmy Fallon? Or Jimmy Kimmel, for Christ's sake. I mean, I think it's like the owning class is showing solidarity with each other. They're just showing like, yeah, we're in charge. Trump doesn't want these fucking guys. Fuck yeah, they're gone. Just get Colbert. Who do you want gone next? I mean, I don't think Fallon or maybe Seth Meyers will get canceled. And so, I mean, but late night and the Tonight Show are like, those are brands in a way that like Jimmy Kimmel and like the Late Show were not. The Late Show had a little bit of like brand legacy from Letterman and the Ed Sullivan Theater and shit. But like Jimmy Kimmel's show was really just like, it was like Magic Johnson's fucking talk show or whatever, which I liked, by the way. Or Chevy Chase's talk show, which I also liked. Or Dennis Miller's talk show, which I liked. Or Keenan. Did you ever watch Keenan? Keenan Ivory Wayans had a talk show on Fox. I liked that show. Did not last long. Late night, it's a tough business. What is Bill Carter saying? Is there going to be another Late Shift book? The Late Shift Part 3. The massacre of the hosts. Are they going to put are they going to put the late night hosts in Alligator Auschwitz? That's what I want to know. Was the Seinfeld finale prophetic and comedians are going to jail? I mean, I just find it ironic because all of these comedians are like the ones who supported Trump. They're the ones who are like outspoken about being canceled and you can't say shit and blah, blah, boo hoo. We can't say anything anymore. It's like, yeah, well, look what, yeah. Here's somebody that actually fucking got canceled, literally. I mean, Louis C.K. is still playing arenas and shit. There's consequences. He didn't even fucking say anything. He didn't even go out with some, it's not like Jimmy Kimmel went on and like torched fucking Charlie Kirk or something. He didn't even say anything about Charlie Kirk. It was all about how Trump didn't give a fuck. And he just used the footage of it. It wasn't even like something he wrote. It was literally just like a fucking clip of Trump. So they just had it. It's like Iraq. They wanted to get rid of this guy. It's part of his. Apparently, the late night hosts are some kind of like crucial linchpin of our fucking democracy. Well, like as I'm saying, they're a way that we fight back to some degree because we have the power to make jokes about the president. It doesn't mean they can just throw us in jail. This is not like other fucking countries, right? It's one thing that was important about America. At least, the way I was brainwashed to believe about this stolen white supremacist capitalist country is like it was supposed to be a place where you had First Amendment rights. You could say anything, actually, without going to fucking jail. And, I get it. Like, Kimmel is not going to jail yet. He's just losing his kind of cushy job. He's going to comedy jail. Is he going to be back at the open mic? Are we going to see Jimmy Kimmel at Grizzly Pear? I don't think he ever did like clubs. I mean, was Jimmy Kimmel ever like a stand-up? Like, he definitely shouldn't lose his fucking job. Like people have been scrambled to the point that like they just want to disown this country. They don't really understand anything about it. They don't know what's in the fucking Constitution or the Bill of Rights. They don't know. The Republicans can say everything is, oh, it's the Constitution. We care about it's like they don't even know what's in it. They don't care. They want to be authoritarian. The president is the king. That's what they think this is. It's like, oh, the president's the king. He gets to make all the decisions, and like he is all powerful. It's like, no, that was the whole fucking point of this country, was to like not have it be completely in one person's hands. And you can speak back without, getting chainsawed like Jamal Khashoggi, which is where this country's headed. It has been headed that way. Trump, that's why he's so jazzed and like pro Saudi Arabia and shit, is because like he wants to do that shit here. He'd probably love to fucking take a chainsaw to Colbert. And for what? I was reading this interesting book again, Sexual Persona. And talking about Marquis de Sade and Baudelaire and how Baudelaire is kind of like an elitist. Like there are people that believe in hierarchies. They believe that like there are lesser people. And I wish I could find the passage. Let me look for it for a second. It just seemed really relevant to the current kind of like Baudelaire calls dandyism a romantic cult of the self, arising from the burning need to create a personal originality. High romantic politics were populist and democratic, but late romantic ones are reactionary. Dandyism is a new kind of aristocracy, a haughty and exclusive sect resisting the rising tide of democracy, which invades and levels everything. See, that sounds like Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin, Dime Square to me. That feels like kind of the new New York, this kind of cult of the self, a new kind of aristocracy, a haughty and exclusive sect resisting the rising tide of democracy, which invades and levels everything. I mean, that's what these guys literally said. Is like democracy is the problem. Because we have democracy, it's actually like worse because like people can't be trusted to vote properly or something. Late Romanticism is arrogantly elitist, a point that must be remembered for Oscar Wilde, whose political views have been sentimentalized by modern admirers. Baudelaire loathes the new mass culture, which he identifies with mediocrity. He equally rejects reformers and do-gooders. Gautier says Baudelaire abhorred philanthropists, progressists, utilitarians, humanitarians, utopists. In other words, Baudelaire condemned Rousseauism in all its forms. Today, Rousseauism has so triumphed that the arts and the avant-garde are synonymous with liberalism, an error reinforced by literature teachers with their humanist bias. I follow the decadence in trying to drive Rousseauist benevolence out of discourse on art and nature. The decadents satirized the liberal faith in progress with sizzling prophecies of catastrophe and cultural collapse. So Rousseau, right, was sort of like an Enlightenment thinker that was like a humanist. This was the beginning of democracy. Everyone. And there's something like Christian about that, right? Like the lesser people are like celebrated, or like, the meek shall inherit the earth, like poverty as sort of like an ideal. Democracy, humanism, everybody gets a voice, everybody gets a vote, everybody gets uh, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Whereas fucking Camille Paglia, right, is like these new MAGA, Red Scare, literary people, where it's like, I follow the decadence in trying to drive Rousseauist benevolence out of discourse on art and nature. I think what she says about Rousseauism has so triumphed that the arts and avant-garde are synonymous with liberalism, and error reinforced by literature teachers with their humanist bias. I think that's true, actually. And I think this movement is not anything new, is what we're saying. Is like, yes, for the post-war bubble, we have associated, like the left is like pot smoking hippie, rock and roll, like creativity, artists. That's all. We all associate that stuff with like liberalism, right? That's what it means to be, or it was, right? But actually, that is not really strictly true. A lot of avant-garde art and is right wing, actually. Or I don't know, like, it's interesting, these passages about Marquis de Sade. I'll get that into a second. Like, he talks about how Marquis de Sade is sort of like a reaction because he happened at the same time as Rousseau. So Rousseau sort of took this like clean, optimistic kind of humanist route, whereas like Sade is like this kind of like leveling. There's these hierarchies in sadomasochism, right? It's all about control, tops, bottoms. That is a reaction against the kind of amorphous, democratic, non-hierarchical, kind of humanist way of looking at things. And so when you look at art, right, like I'm the open mic host, right? I'm clearly like Rousseau, where it's like, I want everybody to read, I want everybody to make art. Whereas like, the elitists, the right wing, the Baudelaire, apparently, they don't think that way. They think there is a hierarchy. Some art is bad. Some people should be making art, and human beings are, everything is like that, right? Everything's human beings. Some human beings are exempt and win and are the masters and are the elite and are the Taylor Swifts and the Travis Kelce's and the Larry Ellisons and the Elon Musks. They're all 6'4" and billionaires, and they deserve it because they're just genetically superior. That's sort of like, I think it's like, this is like the war we're seeing, like the Trump people. Trump is completely like that. Trump is completely like, I'm a billionaire. I'm rich. Rich equals better. We're genetically superior, in a certain way. He's a very stable genius. And, that point of view kind of admits the cruelty of nature and shit like that. Like, that's part of what the point is here, is like Rousseau has this kind of naive idea about the natural world. Like, it's this sort of lyrical, pastoral, you stroll through it. Whereas like actual nature is full of violence. It's full of hierarchies. It's full of, like it says something about in this passage about Marquis de Sade, is like, nature doesn't know the difference between rape and like marital sex. Nature doesn't know the difference, whereas like to our modern society, that's like unthinkable, that kind of like, whereas like Marquis de Sade is full of these visceral, violent, you know, uh, murderous, disemboweling people and just all this creative kind of like human dismemberment as a way of kind of scrambling and exemplifying just kind of like the cruelty, the darkness that is a part of life. You can't really be naive and like deny that. Um, I mean, I think that's one reason why I like Central Park so much because it is sort of like a denuded version of nature. It's like a safe, domesticated facsimile of like it's not dangerous. It's not full of you know dark kind of like threat in the same, at least not anymore. Baudelaire's dandy is an Apollonian androgyny, drawing a sharp line between himself and reality. The dandy, with aristocratic superiority of mind, aims for distinction above all things. Distinction is aboveness and apartness. The dandy's vocation is elegance, incarnating the Platonic idea of beauty in his own person. He is an artificial personality. The self, sculpted by imperious Apollonian contour, has become an object or objet d'art. In late Romanticism, the expansive high romantic self, ecstatically open to nature like Shelley with the west wind, undergoes hieratic sequestration. Baudelaire was the first artist to live as an aesthete, putting into practice what Poe only imagined. Sartre says Baudelaire turned the English dandy's virile athleticism into feminine coquettishness. But Barbie already calls dandies the androgynes of history, belonging to an indecisive intellectual sex, combining grace with power. There was nothing athletic in the languid Baudelaire, who had, as says Gautier, a neck of feminine elegance and whiteness. Gautier calls him a cat whiteness. That's kind of interesting. Gautier calls him a cat, that favorite animal of aesthetes and decadence. The cat, too, is a dandy, cold, elegant, and narcissistic, importing hierarchic Egyptian style into modern life. So I think you just see a lot of that in kind of the modern landscape is like this kind of androgyny mixed with distinction. New York is full of in there, but they seem like they're like it's supposed to be, oh well, like you're a leftist, it's like you're a humanitarian. It's like, well, no, the people who are the hardest leftists are not humanitarian. They're not humanists in that, like, they don't want to include everybody. It's like they think that like you're either against the genocide or you're not against the genocide, and like they don't fuck with you if you're not against the genocide or whatever. They're whatever it is. Whatever political pronouns or there's all of these lines drawn where it's like you're either on this side or you're not on this side. There's distinctions, right? There's distinctions being made. What are your pronouns? That is a very specific distinction. It's not like, hey, can't we all just get along? Hey, we're all one love. It's like, and so Baudelaire seems like kind of right, like he's the first person to live in it as an aesthete. He's this person that is an object of art, right? The dandy is somebody who is a trust fund kid. They spend the whole day just like, and I think in the post-war American boom, that position was offered, or like more people could be, like Warhol's factory or something, right? Is full of people who are sort of like dandies, but they're not all rich per se, and they're not all they could just bring people in off the street or whatever to do that. The author, and I think this is one reason why this book is like, a guide for some of the new kind of like literary, whatever the hell you want to call them, alt right lit. It's not alt lit, it's alt right lit. And it's like and it's like for these reasons, there are hierarchies, there are distinctions, there are uh cats importing archaic Egyptian hierarchic Egyptian style into modern life. I don't want to spend too, because I do want to. I'm not going to be on that long. I'll probably get off in like 15 or 20 minutes. But or let me see what my phone is. 77%. So I don't know. I think people are like weaponizing that hierarchic way of thinking to justify like their own being born on third base and taking power through fascism and like enforcing their own opinions. Like whatever you want to say about America up to this point. I mean, and I guess I'm sure America has silenced a lot of fucking people's opinions in various ways by slaughtering them or whatever. But I don't know. It's scary to think that like within the next year or two or something, like literally, I mean, people are losing their jobs, right? Like somebody's spouse posted something about what happened and like they lost their job. It's like uh the right wing is like way more hostile, violent. uh they've created this climate of like ugly public rhetoric. And the late night comedians have always done this. What they do is a relatively like toothless. Like, do the late night comedians have any effect? Like, that's why it's like, why is Trump so? It's a weak move. Like, they didn't sway the election. It's like he won the fucking election. All fucking Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel talk about is like how Trump sucks. I mean, Colbert's show was super woke. We were just there. We went a couple months ago because I don't know. I thought, it's weird that we went a couple months ago because I thought like, yeah, these are maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm disproving my whole thing. It's like, yeah, I thought like, okay, these are places of, I don't know. Like Colbert has been in the trenches. So yeah, I guess he is like a warrior of light. And they want to get rid of him. They want to take his eloquent. He's the smartest man in America, according to Bruce Andrews, who's pretty much an egghead himself. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I don't mean that. I mean that in a positive way, laudatory. I also wanted to talk about Melvin and Howard. I don't know if you guys have seen. I'm going to do a little movie review real fast, just to kind of. We'll get back on the Colbert thing and how it relates to Baudelaire, the Marquis de Sade, and Rousseau, and Dime Square, and Red Scare. Well, the thing about those Red Scare chicks is they really are like influencers. There are people that like follow their fucking opinions and like are like worship them like Lana. And they are just leading these people by the nose into this. And they like it. They're stoked. I mean, I guess they feel like they're are they like the Lenny Riefenstahl? Is Dasha the Lenny Riefenstahl of MAGA? They're propagandists. And a lot of these literary people are sort of like adjacent to that, and like Tao Lin or whoever the fuck it is. And maybe that's just literature. Like this thing says, it's like it's a mistake to think that like the arts are liberal per se or left wing. As much as the right wing in this country wants to portray it that way, Hollywood is left wing. These sensitivity readers in the publishing industry. It's like none of these fucking kids are reading anyway. They're all on goddamn Hellraisers 2 or whatever the hell it is. They're all fucking, down some kind of white supremacist rabbit hole, apparently. They're not reading fucking, Cave Akbar. What's Bret Easton Ellis? He had that book, Whiteness. Where does he stand on the political spectrum? He's probably a dandy, I would say. That's why you got to see Melvin and Howard. Melvin and Howard, now that is an incredible movie. That's one of the best movies. I mean, I've been lucky to see some incredible movies recently, but Melvin and Howard is definitely, it's one of those movies. I could have watched it again immediately. It was so freaking good. And it's about class. Once again, as a result of this post-war wealth, the white men of the boomer generation got to have this utopic, hippie, humanitarian, new American cinema of the 70s. I do think you see the movies like get a lot worse. They change. The movies change in the early 80s. Right around that Nicholson movie, The Border, shit changes. Shit morphs into these weird, like compartmentalized, like modular screenplays. The 70s, like this movie of Melvin and Howard really is like cinematic. Like Jonathan Demme, I don't know if he made another movie like that, but like there's a lot of cinema in Melvin and Howard. SCTV always did that skit. There's all these kind of like, I think The Critic maybe did a Melvin and Howard. Like that image of Melvin and Howard Hughes in the truck is just like iconic somehow. And the thing is, it's really not that much of the movie. Like Jason Robards is not in the movie really hardly at all. And yet he gets half the billing. And I think he got an Oscar. He's incredible. It probably is the best Jason Robards performance. I'm a Jason Robards fan. There's something about, I think his presence is like theatrical more than it is like movie. Like Jason Robards looks like a theater actor. I think I like that. The American kind of theater actor, they got a lot of British ones, but I think, and PTA like ripped tons of stuff from this movie. Like as I'm watching the opening scene, Howard Hughes is on his motorcycle in the desert. I'm like, this is just like The Master. It's the same fucking thing. And so I'm like, oh, PTA must have fucking like, and as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, PTA ripped tons of shit from this movie. Like I said, I don't know if there is another movie like there are movies like Melvin and Howard, but I don't know if Jonathan Demme made like another movie like that. There's movies that are kind of like, there's a lot of Howard Hughes. A lot of fucking boomers wrote about Howard Hughes. They have this kind of like weird. Sam Shepard wrote a play about Howard Hughes, Angel City. It's excellent. Rip Torn apparently played Howard Hughes in the original production. Check out Angel City if you ever get the chance. Is Melvin and Howard and The Aviator, are they in the same cinematic universe? I mean, technically they're both about Howard Hughes. Is Melvin and Howard canon? Well, part of the brilliance of the movie is it's kind of ambiguous over like whether or not Howard Hughes is. I didn't know it was based on a real thing. I just thought it was like this crazy. The way the movie unfolds is like, it's how, like it. Melvin and Howard is like as good as like just like a normal movie could like possibly get. Like anybody could watch this movie and like really be entertained, I guess, because it just unfolds in this really interesting way. Like you really see the story And it's just, like it starts out, the guy's driving his truck. Howard Hughes he crashes his motorcycle in the desert. He probably would have died, right? He's just laying there in the desert. And Melvin gets out to take a piss. And as he's taking a piss, he stumbles on Howard Hughes. Spoiler alert. Sorry. And that's just like such an amazing fucking setup. And it plays out. The shot making in that movie and the camera moves. They're almost like Scorsese, but they're like Scorsese's never doing anything normal with the fucking camera. Hardly ever. Like Scorsese knows every grammar. He's like a poet in that sense. It's like he knows every move that you can do. And he always suits the move. But he's always making these really big choices with how he moves the camera and shit. I also watched Highest to Lowest. I liked Highest to Lowest. A lot of people trash it. I thought it was excellent. I give it 4 stars. I really liked Highest to Lowest. I thought it was my Basquiat's. They taken my fucking Basquiat's. That movie was like a Basquiat. It was just full of meaning. It was full of magic. Full of magic. Highest to Lowest. I enjoyed it. I thought it was excellent. Spike Lee is a master. Aesop Rocky. Ice Spice is in it. But Melvin and Howard, good God. But it's about the whole movie is just about how they're fucking broke as hell. They just, everything is about this costs this much. And you can tell that moment in the late 70s, there was like this class consciousness in American, things like Paul Schrader, Blue Collar. It's explicit in the movie that like they are broke, and the movie kind of spells out their economics. So the idea that he could inherit all this fucking money from Howard Hughes is like the ultimate kind of MacGuffin. And it just plays out. It really is like cinematic. I hate to use that as a descriptor. But I mean by that is like it shows it in a way that like plays beautifully. There's elegant camera moves. There's wide shots. There's landscapes. But the characters are great too. So yeah, Melvin and Howard. And then I watched Spinal Tap, the new Spinal Tap, which it was good. That was hilarious. The new Spinal Tap. I mean, you couldn't get those guys are just world fucking class at what they do. That's sort of like bantering. That's why I've been watching all the Spinal Tap stuff on YouTube, because it's like it's just as good as the movie in a way. It's really just more, because all that movie is just them hitting a pickleball around verbally and making sort of like play on words and shit. Funny kind of rock and roll. I mean, they really tapped into, because those characters are so accessible. So, somehow the heavy metal thing has become so pervasive, and like rock and roll, the excess of rock and roll and the cliches of it, just it's so rife with comedy possibility. And those guys they're just masters of it. They parody heavy rock like it's like this niche subculture, like cheesemongering or folk music or dog show. It's almost like a sociological, study. I do think Christopher Guest I think he's influenced by Altman and Frederick Wiseman a lot, actually. I think his movies are kind of like anthropological, but they're also like ensemble hangout type things, like Altman movies are. They're like a Freeze, or like when you have a bunch of people on screen at once. That's kind of a nice style. But Rob Reiner directed Spinal Tap 2. It didn't really feel like a movie quite. Like the first movie, they're on tour, they're all over the place. There's so much music in it. That's one thing is like this movie had a lot of music in it, but there was a lot of it that didn't have any music in it. It's like part of the beauty of the first movie is like you're seeing all of these performances of them, and they're so good at it. That's part of what made it. To me, Spinal Tap, to be honest, it might be like taking a Cassavetes thing to like the ultimate, because those guys like they live in those characters, you know, like they go on talk shows as those characters. They go in character. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't go on fucking Letterman as goddamn Bill the Butcher. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't go on fucking Jay Leno as fucking uh you know, William Plainview or Lincoln. Whereas like these Spinal Tap guys, it's like they are living in character. They're totally improvising those scenes in character. It's almost like a fucking Cassavetes movie where it's like they're also writing it. You know, they're so good at. They're not like these primal, emotionally driven scenes. It's like they're really like revealing their character, shaping the kind of like group dynamic, all through their kind of like spontaneous, you know, yes anding. And in a way, those guys don't get enough credit, I don't think, as actors. You know, like they're unbelievable just to watch. And that's why that movie just worked, because it's like the movie, it's fucking hilarious. There's tons of it that's hilarious. There's the filmmaking, it kind of looked like a BBC fucking documentary or something. Like it was okay. It wasn't the first movie, you know, is a masterpiece of world cinema. This movie was sort of just like another home video, like the Spinal Tap 92. I liked Back from the Dead. They had an album out about 15 years ago, Back from the Dead. I thought that was a really good song. The thing about the new Spinal Tap movies, it focuses on the songs you didn't hear in the first movie. Like Cups and Cakes. They play Cups and Cakes with Paul McCartney. It's insane. Like there's enough hilarious magical stuff, but because a lot of these remakes and shit, it's like they rely too much on the first movie. Everything's a fucking it did a little too much of that. Like there was a little too much callback. It's like there could have just been a little more you know, because the thing is, these rock bands are still on tour. You know, like the fucking Rolling Stones have been on tour. And you know, that's hilarious. It actually is like a subject that's ripe for comedy. Like the fact that AC/DC is still fucking on the road when half their band is dead and they're all like in their late 70s. It's like it doesn't feel like opportunistic to make like a Spinal Tap sequel now. It feels like actually that is fucking hilarious because like these guys are old and like how funny is it that they're fucking old and they're still trying to be like badasses and shit? They're still like fist pumping and fucking rocking stadiums, and people are still paying a lot of money to see them. You know, they're still the top acts: McCartney, Springsteen, Elton John. Elton John seemed like super stoked to be there. I think that's pretty fucking cool. I mean, those guys do deserve a place in rock history. Spinal Tap is like, it is like the ultimate like insight into sort of like rock and roll, the weird kind of like Bermuda Triangle. Like that's why the Nigel character, you know, Christopher Guest, I really think he's somebody that should be celebrated in this country. I mean, even though he's like, I guess maybe technically British, he's like in the House of Lords or some shit. He grew up in New York, and he seems like kind of a distinctly American comedic. Like his style is a little bit different than every other American comedian in a way. There's something elegant about it, something sophisticated about it, but also like very accessible and actually funny. The little voices he does, and he really is. I mean, Nigel, like this character is just so the character has an imagination. The character's like, and that's what makes him such a magical character, which like rock and roll needs that. It needs that kind of like Jeff Beck, like space cadet, mystical. That's creative mind. That's lead guitar player like Mick Taylor. Rock and roll gave those kind of people a place where they could make make something of themselves. They otherwise would have probably been in jail or something, or been criminals. Or who knows how they would have fit it. Now he's a cheesemonger. He's got a cheese shop with a guitar shop. And he's playing open mics. There's a scene of him at the fucking open mic, basically. Acting like it's fucking Wembley. So I don't know. Christopher Guest, his ensemble company, he's kind of like the comedy Altman or something. Like Rob Reiner's great and everything, but he's kind of the least. I'm glad he's in the movie, but he's especially in the beginning. That starts out the same way as the first movie. It's like, come on, do something different. Like don't just. I thought it was going to be a remake, and I'm like, oh no, they're just going to remake the first one. Like it's going to be a bunch of fucking Stonehenge jokes and the first 15 or 20 minutes are not great, but then there's enough stuff in it. It's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but the first movie, it's like you can tell they worked on that motherfucker. And the first Spinal Tap, it's kind of a perfect movie. It's one of the best movies ever made. Like it's probably, I mean, if I had to pick one comedy that's like the funniest movie ever made, it would be Spinal Tap. Like Spinal Tap has been such a huge part of my life. When I was a teenager, I made a Spinal Tap t-shirt. Literally, I took a white t-shirt, I drew Spinal Tap on it in a pencil, their logo, and then I like went over it with some kind of black t-shirt fucking, acrylic or something. One of the first CDs I ever had was the Spinal Tap soundtrack album. I ordered it off the internet. I was like, I can't believe they even sell this. Like I can listen to all of Spinal Tap songs, and they're great songs. They're like Byron or Shelley. I mean, they're poets. Michael McKean, Christopher Guest, Harry Shearer. They're all like highly, highly advanced, like cerebral, verbal hipsters. They're intellectuals. I think they're probably more like the Folksmen in real life. They're probably not that much like Spinal Tap. They're probably more like these folky guys. They seem kind of gentle and like soft spoken. I recommend people listen to Le Show. Harry Shearer's got a YouTube page. Le Show is a radio show that Harry Shearer has literally been doing like for like 40 fucking years. It's an hour every week, and he does everybody. He does Trump. He does fucking Clinton. I mean, I don't know who he's doing now. I listened to it a few months ago, but I used to listen to it when I was a kid. It was on every Sunday at 5, I think, on WCBE, public radio. And then he got canceled as fuck. And so now it's on the internet. Like nobody listens to it. It's kind of sad. It's like this dude's on the fucking Simpsons. He's like, Simpsons is like seen by millions of people. And yet like nobody listens to his fucking radio show about like politics and like it's too smart or something. I don't know. It's too dry. All right. I am going to get off pretty soon. Maybe 5 minutes. I'll do an hour and 15. What else the hell do I need to talk about? There was another thing, I think. Can I look at let me look at my notes real fast. I talked about the Marquis de Sade, Kimmel, and I talked about Melvin and Howard. It's my pick of the day. You got to watch Melvin and Howard. What time is it? Showtime. What time is it? Showtime. What the hell else do I need to? talk about? Whew. I mean, hopefully they don't cancel my fucking live stream. Although I'm already basically canceled. I mean, I never was on. I self-canceled. I pre-canceled. I've been shadow banned. I've been overlooked. Oh yeah, I Melvin and Howard is part of the subgenre biopic of someone undeserving. I don't know if that's a real thing, but these guys, I think Larry Krasowski or whoever that guy is who wrote Ed Wood, Scott Alexander, and Larry. I liked a bunch of their movies when I was a kid. They wrote Ed Wood. I think they wrote Problem Child. They wrote The People versus Larry Flint, though I never saw that. I did not really like Man on the Moon. I think they wrote that. But a biopic of someone undeserving is like Melvin and Howard is just a guy that works at a fucking gas station that claims that he met Howard Hughes by picking up hitchhiking. But no one can prove that. And it may have been a hallucination. We don't know. Nobody knows. It's ambiguous. That's what makes it artistically powerful. As an elitist, hierarchical dandy, Dabney Coleman's in it. Anything with Dabney Coleman. I looked at the credits. Dabney Coleman, Charles Napier, Mary Steenburgen won an Oscar. It's like very early in Mary Steenburgen's career. For all my Mary Steenburgen heads where you at? Give it up for Mary Steenburgen. I think she's an undersung hero of American cinema, frankly. Married to Ted Danson. She's on Curb. She's come on. I mean, if for nothing else, who but Mary Steenburgen could have handled Uncle Martin and Clifford, Charles Grodin and Martin Short, and Dabney. Only Mary Steenburgen, okay? So we got to give it up for Mary Steenburgen, a hero, an icon of the cinema. She's in a lot of good fucking movies, actually. And she's dramatic. She's comedic. I can't think of any off the top of my head necessarily, other than Clifford. But I think she's in tons of shit. And she won an Oscar for Melvin and Howard. She's naked for those people out there that care about those things. There's a game show in the movie. It's just amazing. It's you can tell it's a big influence on P.T. Anderson. And I am excited to see whatever this new One Battle After Another. It looks really interesting. I think it's getting like really good reviews, like great reviews. And so, I mean, it's based on a Thomas Pynchon thing. I think it's kind of crazy. And that's one thing I think is interesting about P.T. Anderson is like he seems like a super hipster. His influences come from weird places. Or I mean, Thomas Pynchon, not the most adaptable, like did they ever make a Thomas Pynchon film before Inherent Vice or like he's kind of a difficult, he's like an obscure. I mean, I read The Crying of Lot 49. And it's definitely a powerful fucking like masterpiece. He's not necessarily my aesthetic or something. It's a little too, I don't know, like cartoony, or all the fucking names are super weird. And it's all about cops. And my mom, I think, bought me Vineland. She bought me one Christmas. I got all these like dollar books, Underworld, Vineland. I forget what else. And I read the beginning of Vineland. It was about like rural California and activists and militia type. It wasn't really, like I said, it's like I wanted to read about New York and shit. I wanted to read some kind of tweed ass Don DeLillo, J.D. Salinger type shit. I didn't want to read about, whatever the fuck Vineland was about. And so I didn't really But I think he lives in L.A. I think, or he did at one point. Thomas Pynchon, and I think he's kind of like a California. I haven't seen Inherent Vice, but I'd like to. I like the idea that like P.T. Anderson even gives a fuck to be like, yeah, I'm gonna adopt fucking Thomas Pynchon novel, like, uh, and he sort of just like made his way up in the industry, I think, just by sort of like making his own shit. Even though his dad was Goulardi, P.T. Anderson, I think, is sort of like just kind of he was able to just like make his own vision and like succeed that way. It doesn't really seem like white men have done that recently. Like, where's the millennial P.T. Anderson? I don't know. Uh, so yeah, I'm definitely fucking curious about one battle after another. Uh, it seems relevant, probably, to the fucking insanity of what's going on now. So, uh, I don't know. I think he's like more of an adult filmmaker or something. When I was a kid, it's just like I couldn't really get into uh like in a certain way. I think his movies are like less escapist, maybe. Like something like Boogie Nights. I guess there's things about it that are like fantasy and sort of like glamorized. And in that sense it's escapism, but it's also about the cost of that and how it kind of just like eats you alive. And I will say I do think it's important that Mark Wahlberg played Dirk Diggler, because the thing is, like, DiCaprio was supposed to be Dirk Diggler, I guess, right? P.T. Anderson wanted DiCaprio, but he couldn't get him for whatever reason, and so they got Mark Wahlberg. DiCaprio wouldn't do it, I think, maybe because he didn't want to hurt his image at that time as like Titanic, or he did Titanic instead, I think is what it was, which the rest is history. But I think he chose to do Titanic instead of Boogie Nights. And they got Mark Wahlberg, who is a real life dirtbag. I think that's important. Like Dirk Diggler, Mark Wahlberg has this kind of all American, like John Cena. He's like the John Cena, I feel like, of acting. Well, John Cena is an actor now, so I guess John Cena is the John Cena of acting. But Mark Wahlberg seems like the John Cena before our country just got so like full of rage and steroided out that so jacked. America's just gotten jacked. I think Donald is the jacked president. There's going to be winners and losers. Not everybody's a loser. Some people are Vince McMahon. They get jacked and they become billionaires. And the rest of us die early deaths of neglect, of being independent contractors, of not having any kind of job security. Yeah, so I think it was important that Mark Wahlberg, because he's got a real dark past, and that character like has he's kind of a sleazy, or I don't know, like that. People, often that's how they get involved in that life. DiCaprio is like I don't know, he's too pure. He's too like boyish. He's like Prince Charming. Like Mark Wahlberg is like a fucking trash. Like those guys are. Like he knows how to fuck, is what I'm saying. Okay, he's Dirk Diggler. Okay. All right. Am I going to end on that? I guess so. It's 6:00. I got to get going. Thank you for watching, everybody. I don't know. Did I? God, we should be protesting. I do think that like this is a good time to like show it. I mean, that's why I'm like worried that all of the outlets are being like because, well, for one reason, we don't have any other infrastructure. Like, this is the infrastructure now, is Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. That is the infrastructure. Like the newspapers, network television, whatever, most of that won't survive. And so how are we going to distribute mass liberal propaganda? How, I mean, that's why the open mics, what's going to happen to them? I mean, that's always going to be an IRL gathering. Are they going to, come for us? Are they going to send ICE in to silence our truth, to censor us? I don't think so. I mean, I think in person is the what we're going to need. Now that these channels, CBS, Paramount, Twitter, all of the social media is bought by the evil tech dandies, the eugenicists, the people who make distinctions, the Marquis de Sade. So yeah, the Marquis de Sade is probably the author of our moment, I would say, and I guess you can see that influence in American Psycho. That's got to be heavily influenced by Marquis de Sade. I mean, what are other examples of that? But the Marquis de Sade, these are all like sort of poetical metaphors for that somehow work out some kind of like deep psychological disturbance that we're all going through as we go into this like new tribalism, which is what I think it is. All of these online communities, it's just like a tribalism. Are you which fucking like 4chan whatever forum are you in? What is your little tribal subculture? You're gonna have a Discord. Is that the only free speech is going to take place in the Discord chat until your trans femboy partner turns you into the FBI, turns you into Kash Patel. So yeah, it's what they do in prison. This is what men do in prison. Same thing. And so we're already in a prison, kind of, in a way, I guess. People seem to want it. I don't know. I think people want some people want more control than others. And they're getting it. Some people want to be dominated by daddy. Ooh, daddy's getting his belt out. The world is gonna make sense again. I don't know. I don't know what that's about, but we're trying to. So it's for the liberal humanist Democrats of the Enlightenment, of which this country is a product. All that stuff was born around the same time, right? Like Rousseau, the early romantic humanists like Shelley being open to the Western wind, fucking Blake, all the romantics, right? Wordsworth, right? Wordsworth is famously a humanist, kind of like of the people kind of voice. That was his whole point, is he's trying to write kind of in the vernacular. And the French Revolution, Marquis de Sade, all around the same time. And so it's our Pluto return. There's all kind of crazy astrological shit going on. Pluto is going to square Mars, and Mars is entering Scorpio or something. And so it's going to be fucking crazy until like the end of the month. So get ready. And then who knows what the fuck is going to happen. One battle after another, apparently. And so what do we do? What's New York City going to do? We're half MAGA, half fucking Mamdani at this point. How's that going to make any fucking sense? The United Cities of America. New York is just going to break off and become like a little luxury art colony for the scions of the billionaire class. And we'll be lucky to get jobs feeding them grapes. Okay? If you're lucky, you'll get to give a hand job to like Larry Ellison's, like, fucking grandchild or whatever. So pucker up everybody. I mean, we got to fight for Kimmel, okay? I never thought I'd be saying this. We need to stand up for Jimmy Kimmel, the man show fucking misogynist who win Ben Stein's money fucking martyr. He's our Charlie Kirk. Just kidding. These are jokes, okay? Jesus, make comedy legal again. Legalize comedy. I thought they legalized comedy. What the fuck happened? Apparently not. All right. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. God bless. Legalize comedy. Legalize